Richard Sanchez, R-I-C-H-A-R-D, S-A-N-C-H-E-Z.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Good morning, sir. Where do you work?
I'm a Executive Lieutenant with the Michigan State Police, assigned to our Special Investigative Section, and I've been assigned out to the Detroit Homicide Task Force in 2014.
And how long have you been a police officer for generally throughout your life?
Approximately 29 years.
And you said you've been a member of the Homicide Task Force since how long?
2014.
And what type of investigations or work does the Homicide Task Force do?
So the Homicide Task Force is comprised of the Detroit Police Department, Michigan State Police. We have the ATF attached to us as well as the FBI. We investigate homicides involving at least 3 victims. Usually one has to be fatal. So most of the mass shootings that you see are our responsibility. We investigate 13 years old and younger by gunshot wound fatal victims, as well as all officers involved shootings that take place inside the city.
Now, aside from, since you've been assigned to the task force, at any point in your career as a police officer, did you investigate homicides being assigned to other roles within the police department or violent crimes with being involved in other parts of the police departments?
Yes. So I've been assigned out to the Violent Crimes Task Force with the FBI, the Southeast Michigan Crime Against Children with the FBI, their organized crime unit. I was assigned out to them with the Detroit Police Department. I worked non-fatal shootings on the north and west side of Detroit. I worked cold case sex crimes. I was assigned out with the ATF to work gun trafficking cases up in Pontiac. And then with the Michigan State Police, I worked our surveillance unit, and I also worked our narcotics unit.
Now, within the Homicide Task Force itself, do you have any particular role within the Homicide Task Force?
I'm the supervisor for the Michigan State Police side of the Homicide Task Force.
And are you familiar with a term called an officer in charge in terms of their role within an investigation by the police?
Yes, the officer in charge is usually one that is the holder of the records of the investigation. So they'll carry the complete file with them. They will arrange meetings with families, potential witnesses. They pretty much run the whole case. Unfortunately, my officer in charge is on maternity leave, so I'm one as a supervisor took her responsibilities.
And the assigned officer in charge of this case, what's her name?
Detective Trooper Elizabeth Stockmeyer.
Okay. But as her supervisor, are you also familiar with details about the case and the progression of the investigation?
Yes, so my responsibilities are to guide, provide, and support, basically guide the investigation depending on the facts and circumstances of the case. I also provide resources that may need to be available for them, as well as participate, whether it be attending search warrants or surveillance or review reports.
Now, I want to go back to now October 21st of 2023. How did you become aware of the death of Samantha Woll?
The night before, on October 20th, we were on an investigation of an officer-involved shooting on the east side of Detroit. We were still working into the morning hours of October 21st. I was contacted by Lieutenant Thurkill of the Northeastern Squad, advised me that there was a homicide over at Joliet Street.
Now, did you proceed to that location on October 21st?
No, I did not. We're still continuing our investigation.
Okay. Did there come a point where you did come to the location at 1366 Joliet?
Yes.
And what day was that?
I responded to that scene probably the 23rd or the 24th with the blood spatter expert, but our team responded on the 22nd.
Now, in terms of when the Homicide Task Force team arrived, had that location already been processed or at least entered by some Detroit police personnel?
Yes, on October 21st, the Northeastern Squad from the Homicide Unit processed that scene.
And when the Homicide Task Force got involved, did it involve other entities such as the Michigan State Police or the Federal Bureau of Investigation to collect evidence or to process the scene, even though Detroit police personnel had already processed the scene?
Yes, so each agency has different expertise. With Michigan State Police, I was contacted to see if we could utilize our blood spatter expert to come out to that scene because there was quite a bit of blood charge of that side of the case. And then the FBI was asked to take photographs to give scale measurements so it would assist the blood spatter expert with the investigation.
Now, the ultimate determination of what items are collected or what areas may be swabbed, is that ultimately up to either yourself or the officer in charge to direct the evidence tax in terms of what evidence is swabbed or collected?
So each detective has a role when they make the scene, whether it be you're going to have a detective in charge of the scene, you're going to have a detective in charge of the canvas, you're going to have the detective in charge of interviews, you're going to have the detective in charge of search warrants. So everybody's got different roles and responsibilities at that time. So the on-scene detective is the one who would direct the forensic techs that are out there, as well as the forensic techs will look for evidence themselves and bring it to the attention of the detective that's handling that scene.
Now, in this case, did anyone from, for example, the Michigan State Police, from the forensic technicians, actually go along and make determinations about which items were going to be swabbed or collected?
Yes. Sometime I can't recall correctly, it was 23rd, 24th, a week into the investigation, a few days, one of the forensic techs from the Michigan State Police was Guy Nutter. He came out to the scene and was able to evaluate the scene.
So even if you as a non-forensic technician were to ignore something or miss something, did you actually have somebody who's trained in that sort of thing come with you and go through the scene again?
Yes, I rely on the experts. As many scenes I've been to, I still may miss something, so I rely on those experts to assist me in the investigation. So
there's been discussion about the basement, the upstairs area, and the main floor of the condo located at 1366 Joliet. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, where would you describe the bulk of the relevant evidence located in the condo to be located in? What floor would you describe it in?
In the main floor.
All right. Now, did you yourself ever go into the condo and look through the condo to look at relevant items of evidence?
Yes.
Now, in terms of the basement area, did you ever proceed down into the basement?
Yes. One of the things that caught our attention with the ADT alarm is that there's access to the community hallway that leads out of the complex that all the townhouses have access to. I want to make sure that was secured and locked. There was blood that was dripping down to the last step of the basement, which seemed odd that there was no other blood around it. So we continued to canvass that area of the basement to see if there's any other type of evidence that would catch our attention.
So when you went down to the basement area, now I'm describing now past the stairs down into the actual basement floor, or generally the basement, did you notice areas, large areas or notable areas of suspected blood in the basement?
No, and obviously listening to the testimony, one of the main things that we look at is obviously the sinks. There may people wash up in sinks and try to defer before they get detected by law enforcement, as well as washers and dryers to make sure there's no clothing that's either in the washer hidden inside, as well as some certain areas behind the washer and dryer, other areas that we would be able to detect it.
Now, you referred to a door that's in the basement. That basement door, does it latch from the inside?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that the condition in terms of the door being latched and secured from the inside? Is that the way that door was found when police first entered on October 21st?
Yes. After reviewing body-worn camera, we were able to observe that the chain link was still attached and no access was to that door.
And is there any way to latch that basement door closed if you're standing outside into that hallway outside of the basement area?
No.
And did you ever go into that hallway that led out of the basement?
Yes. So there's multiple trash cans throughout that hallway that lead out to the outside of the townhouses. We checked all the trash or any other items that may be hidden or other possible evidence of blood or biology or anything in that area, maybe weapons, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything on that side.
And so did you see large areas of suspected blood on the outside or, gloves, knives, anything like that?
No, we even checked the outer perimeter door that leads out into the courtyard.
Now, talking now about the upstairs of 1366 Joliet, what observations did you make about the upstairs area?
The same thing. We checked all the bedrooms. There's 2 bedrooms up there. There's an office. There's also a bathroom. Check those areas for any type of evidence of biology, weapons, or anything like that, clothing.
And did you see areas of suspected blood in the upstairs area, or weapons, anything like that?
No.
Now, there's been some questions about, fingerprinting an ADT system or fingerprinting a computer. Why wasn't that done?
Initially, we weren't the ones that responded, but after reviewing photos, there was an ADT alarm. A search warrant was immediately typed on October 22nd. There's two reasons why. The first reason is that we already let go of the scene, so anything after that could have been contaminated at one time or another. Observations of the photographs that we looked at, nothing appeared to be pillaged through in disarray. Up in the upstairs area, the offices was in normal, routine daily life. The bedrooms were normal, routine daily life. None of the drawers were appeared to be pillaged through to the crime scenes that you normally see when people are trying to access that area. So nothing drew our attention to that area. Same thing with the downstairs. Everything was still in, the basement was still kind of the same condition as that.
Now, I know you've mentioned, well, let me ask you this question. Were there valuables inside the apartment that were in plain view right in the open?
Yes. I mean, everything's pretty much valuable in your own home, so.
I guess what I'm talking about, computers,
Oh,
phones,
absolutely.
things like that?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever have any reason to believe that the perpetrator may have, been sending emails on a computer or using the computer before or after the time of this homicide?
When you go to a homicide scene, you have no idea what has taken place, so that canvas is very important. There was no cameras in that area that was generally readily available. There's no eyewitnesses at that time. So we tried to take in consideration what possibilities, but we obviously can't foresee what's going to happen in the future, what may have been crucial at that time. So based on that, we try to ascertain as much information as we can and proceed from there.
So, you ultimately, at this case, you obtained some phone records that were associated with Samantha Woll.
Yes.
And based on the phone records, did you get an idea of when she may have returned to her home after she left the wedding?
Yes.
And did you ever review video taken from the Chrysler school that around the time that the phone records indicated that she may have arrived?
Correct. Yes.
And when reviewing that video from that time, did you see anything on the video that may have been consistent with her returning at the time that's being indicated in the phone records?
So you see the vehicle coming eastbound on Joliet Street and then make the southbound turn into the little apartment parking spaces over in that area, and the phone was consistent with that time frame as well.
And did you ever search that vehicle or process that vehicle to see if there was any relevant evidence from inside the vehicle?
I know forensic techs searched that vehicle, yes.
Okay, and was there any relevant evidence located from her car?
No.
Okay. Now, in terms of, at least initially, back on October 21st, when this crime was first being investigated, were there any perpetrators who were standing around at the crime scene that were there to take responsibility for stabbing and killing Samantha Woll?
No.
So, did you make any efforts to canvass the area to determine if there were any eyewitnesses who might have seen the stabbing or the homicide?
Yes. So, on October 22nd, the Homicide Task Force team, as well as some members of the Violent Crimes Task Force, conducted a canvass from working this way from the inside out, meaning starting from the scene and extending the perimeter of that search for any type of witnesses or potential video.
And at least in terms of potential eyewitnesses, were you ever able to locate anyone who claimed to have seen Miss Woll being stabbed or seen anyone leaving her condo?
No, sir.
Even to this day, have you ever become aware of anyone who claims to have seen Miss Woll being stabbed?
No, sir.
Now, in terms of a canvas of the video, are you aware of any video that has a clear view of Miss Woll's condo door from the night of October 21st, or morning of October 21st, 2023?
No, sir.
Now, what type of efforts did you make in terms of the immediate area to see if there was any ring cameras or doorbell cameras that may have captured her doorway?
So there was multiple ring cameras in the general area. One was across the next condos from her, which would be on the east side, and then one over by the corner of Lafayette and Rivard on one of the condo units that is be on the west side. Both of those didn't depict anything. One was just focused on the porch, and the other one kind of focused off into that parking area. There was Nest cameras in the area. We requested search warrants, but didn't receive any information from those surveillance videos.
And now, fast forwarding now 8 months later from last October, since then, do you know, are there cameras in that location now that were not present back when this occurred last October?
Yes, they're increasing, obviously, since the incident. There was concerns of safety in that neighborhood, and they've increased putting in ring cameras and other types of cameras.
But at least any of these cameras that you become aware of, are you aware of anyone who has claimed to have footage from October 21st that focuses on Miss Woll's door?
No, sir.
Now, did you conduct any interviews of civilian witnesses in this case?
I've had contact with them, but didn't do a formal interview with them.
I guess I should ask more generally. Are you aware of whether it's yourself or other members of the task force conducting interviews of civilian witnesses in this
Yes.
case? Approximately, do you know how many civilian witness interviews there have been in this case?
Approximately over 100.
And is that a usual amount for a homicide investigation? Is it a large amount?
No. It's a larger amount.
Okay. And what was the purpose of interviewing all of these witnesses?
So the reason it came over to the Homicide Task Force, there was concerns that Samantha was targeted based on her position with being the president of the synagogue. There was tensions between Israel and Palestine. So that was one facet of the investigation that they wanted us to take a deeper look into.
All right. And so in terms of the decision to interview certain people, how was it decided which people to interview, or was there a general idea about who to interview in terms of civilian witnesses?
Anybody close to her at that time. She was participating in fundraisers. She was in political arena. She had numerous friends and relationships that we wanted to reach out and get an idea of what her daily life and daily routines were, or whether maybe she had some issues with somebody that maybe wanted to hurt her.